All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Eva. I hope that you all are having a great day. So, we are the group that is going to be talking about themes from EL1. Our group members are me, Serena, Chu, and Winnie. So before we begin Lamb to the Slaughter about the themes, I would like to emphasize on 2 points specifically. For information, each slide in this presentation also represents the evolving plot of the story. So you can keep an eye on that for a better experience. And besides that, we will also be accepting any questions should you have anything to ask. So we will go on to the second slide. Okay, so this is just an extra information that we did. This is a basic summary of the characters that we could have compiled from the short story. So we have the wife, which is Mary Maloney. You can see here with the knife, she's the murderer. And we have Patrick Maloney, which is the husband, is a policeman, and he died. And we have the cashier, the policeman, all their names are Sam, O'Malley, and Jack Noonan. And as for the detectives, the photographer, the doctor, the forensic scientist, we don't know their names, so we just make them unknown. And we discovered online that the story plot is in the 1950s, as the story was originally published in 1953 September in Harper's Magazine. So we will just assume that the story plot is in the 1950s. All right. Okay, so before we dive into the themes, we actually asked the question to ourselves, why was the title named Lamb to the Slaughter? So after some analysis, we broke down the title into two different parts. The first part is the lamb. The second part is the slaughter. So we can see over here, the first part is the lamb, that the lamb actually is typically known as a sacrificial animal. Therefore, it also symbolizes gentleness, innocence, and purity. So we can see that how it relates to the story is that the lamb is actually representing the innocence of a pregnant housewife, which we will know as Mary Maloney. Then next to the second part, which is the slaughter. So how do we link that to the story? We can link that to, how do you kill someone? Use a murder weapon. So what is the murder weapon of the story? That is the lamb leg. So what does the lamb leg indicate in this story? The lamb leg indicates Mary's passivity being turned into a violent weapon. So we can see that what influenced the change were her anger. That change twisted and drove her down a dark road, which ultimately killed Patrick Maloney. And also as an overall, the title itself, Lamb to the Slaughter, it also had a different meaning to it, was that it was also representing Patrick Maloney. In what way? It was that Patrick went into the slaughter as meekly as a lamb because he did not even suspect that he was going to be killed out of nowhere and die the next second. So I'll leave that to your creativity though. So now we're just going to dive into our themes. And the first theme is love, and I'm going to pass it to Winnie. Winnie, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Winnie, go ahead.
And there are 2 points here. First is the love Mary had for Patrick as his wife, as Mary prepared the fixed setting of the house perfectly as the way it usually is every time before Patrick comes back home from work. And despite his unusual behavior, Mary still treated him nicely. And second is the love Mary had for her unborn child. As a 6 months pregnant housewife, she ensures the tidiness of the house is well maintained to protect her and the baby's health. And after committing the murder, she thinks of her baby's possible outcome and determines to do whatever she can to cover up, to make sure that so that nothing bad will happen to them both. And I will pass it on to my next groupmate.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. So the second theme is betrayal, and that will be my part. And so for the first one is that the betrayal is towards Patrick. Patrick's betrayal towards his pregnant wife, Mary. Though not written explicitly, we can all see that Patrick's desire for divorce. He decides to shoo Mary out of his life, especially during such a vulnerable time. Patrick didn't want Mary to make a fuss out of the divorce, and being the selfish Patrick himself, it wouldn't look good for his job. So he chose himself over his precious wife. The second point is that Mary's betrayal towards Patrick, whom she once loved. Instead of discussing about the divorce, she decides to just murder him. So her cold-bloodedness blinded her from thinking logically. The third point is that Mary's betrayal towards her unborn child. Mary snatched away the life she would have had with her father, meaning the life that the baby might have had with the birth father. And the second one is that Mary did not consider the future of her baby before committing an indictable offense. Baby will end up in where? Social services? Or be a prison baby? Who knows? Mary's betrayal towards her associates, meaning the detectives, the policemen, the doctors. Mary took advantage of the trust of the policemen, detectives, doctors, forensic scientists, and friends to cover up her own sins. And also we have Mary's betrayal towards herself. Logically thinking, an ordinary pregnant housewife would never commit such a crime, but her inner devil, born from anger, blinded her innocence and did what no reasonable man would have done. As stated previously in the beginning, the lamb of the story symbolized her innocence. Once the lovely Mary decided to cover a crime with a lie, which was in contradiction of her initial character. Last but not least is Patrick's betrayal to his wedding vows. As Mary's sacred partner in the eyes of God, he betrayed his wedding vows till death do us part. He was supposed to stand by his lawfully wedded wife and their unborn child, not abandon them as if they were just worthless. So I'll pass it on to Serena, our third theme, deception. Serena, are you there?
Yes. Theme 3 is deceptions. Patrick deceived his wife. The days leading to the incidents, Patrick hid his intentions and acted normal to deceive his wife. Mary deceived herself also. After committing the crime, Mary deceived herself by thinking of strategies to create an alibi and form an impression of a grieving wife. Mary deceived her associates also. She covers up her crime by telling a story completely different from reality to deceive others. She fools the 2 policemen and 2 detectives to have a meal of the murder weapons, which is the roasted lamb shank. I will pass it on to the next person, Chu.
And last but not least, here comes theme 4, which is gender and marriage. Throughout the short story, Mary Maloney is firmly rooted to a patriarchal society, a system in which males wield greater political, social, and economic power than women. Women have historically been relegated to the private realm of domestic life because males judge them as intellectually and emotionally unsuitable for the public arena outside of family and home life. Men, on the other hand, could travel between the two, enjoying the pleasures of home life given by wives and mothers while participating with the political and economic institutions of the public arena. Mary's marriage is an excellent illustration of the gender hierarchy. Since she circles her husband's whole existence, Mary stays at home, works at the sewing, and waiting for Patrick to return. Once her husband comes home, all her attention is dedicated to his demands and needs. Mary fulfills the task of a traditional housewife. She demonstrates her love and devotion by doing various house chores for her husband. For example, hanging his coat, giving him drinks, offering to get his slippers, and make dinner even when she's 6 months pregnant. She shows herself as an affectionate and lovely housewife. And that comes to the end of the themes we have found throughout the short story. For everyone who has read the story, you may have never suspected a dark turn in the end. The whole short story revolved around negative elements such as eeriness, darkness, spookiness, suspension, scariness, and evil. The wife's strategy on how to prevent herself from going into prison was also very wicked, but in the end, we could say the entire plan was actually a sweet revenge. But who knows, she already has a taste of murder, so what if this becomes a guilty pleasure? With that major cliffhanger, this concludes our whole presentation. We hope everyone enjoyed the slides as much as we enjoyed making them. Thank you.